A waitress made the client's daughter laugh, and the widowed millionaire dad fell in love. A calm Sunday morning filled the cozy little bakery in Austin, Texas, with the scent of cinnamon rolls and freshly brewed coffee hanging in the air. Claire Bennett, a barista and part-time server, was wiping down the counter when she heard a sudden burst of crying from a corner table. "No, no, no!" a little girl cried out, her voice cracking. A glass of orange juice had spilled across the table, soaking through a brightly colored drawing. The girl sobbed, tears splattering onto the now smudged paper. Claire looked up, set her cloth down, and walked over. The man sitting with the child was already dabbing at the mess with napkins. He wore a crisp button-up shirt, his expression tired yet composed. "Take it easy, Lily. We can make another one at home," he said gently, though his voice hinted at helplessness. "It won't be the same," Lily whimpered. "This one was for Mom." Claire's chest tightened. That look in Lily's eyes, pure loss, reminded her of the children she once taught. Without thinking twice, Claire crouched down with a warm, calm smile. "Excuse me," she said softly, addressing the man. "Would you mind if I help?" The man gave a surprised but grateful nod. "You know what, Lily?" Claire said, kneeling so she was eye level with the girl. "The best artists in the world, they all have magical accidents sometimes." Lily looked at her, eyes still red but flickering with curiosity. "Magical accidents?" "Exactly. Look here." Claire dipped her finger into the orange juice. "We can turn this into something beautiful." With careful strokes, Claire drew around the spill, shaping it into delicate butterfly wings fluttering over the page. Lily looked up, wonder shining in her eyes for the first time in months. "It's a butterfly?" she gasped. "And this one," Claire whispered, "is delivering a very special message to your mom." That was the moment Ethan Walker, the father, stood frozen, watching. A stranger in an apron had just done what therapists, counselors, and time could not. She made his daughter smile again. A week later, a silver SUV pulled up outside the bakery early Sunday morning. Lily jumped out first, carrying a small tote bag and a rolled-up drawing in her hands. Ethan followed behind her, newspaper in hand, though his eyes drifted toward the window of the cafe. Claire was wiping down a table near the front when she noticed Lily. Her face lit up with a surprised smile. "You're back, little artist," Claire greeted, kneeling to meet Lily's eyes. "I drew something for you," Lily said shyly, unrolling the picture. "It's you, with orange butterfly wings." Claire took the drawing, marveling at the image of herself as a winged figure gliding through a colorful garden. Her heart softened. "I've never received anything this beautiful. Thank you, Lily." Ethan stood behind them, quiet, watching. Something about the scene felt warm, effortless, like a family beginning to find its rhythm again after a long silence. From that day on, Sunday mornings became a ritual. The father and daughter would arrive at the same time each week, always sitting at the table by the window, the place where Lily had once cried, and later smiled again. Claire would have a warm milk ready for Lily, along with 2 butterfly-shaped cookies. Ethan ordered black coffee, though he often let Claire choose a pastry for him. Their conversations grew more familiar, more comfortable. "You were a teacher?" Ethan asked one morning as Lily colored beside them. "Yes," Claire nodded. "I used to teach kindergarten back in Georgia, but the school lost funding and I lost my job. I moved to Austin to start over." Lily adored her teacher, Ethan said quietly. "I don't think she believed she'd find someone like that again." Claire smiled, though her heart stirred with something deeper. She hadn't expected that a quiet little girl could make her long to teach again. But somehow, Lily had. Sunday mornings slowly became a quiet anchor in Ethan's week, not just because Lily looked forward to them, but because of Claire's gentle presence. She never asked too many questions, never tried to impress. She was just there, with a kindness that didn't need attention. The way she knelt down to speak to Lily eye to eye. The way she remembered Lily didn't like chocolate in her cookies. The way she always brought out an extra purple crayon, the color Lily's mother once loved. Ethan began to notice, not in the way a man notices a beautiful woman, but in the way someone begins to see a person who matters. And then, one sunny morning, when Lily burst into laughter at one of Claire's quiet jokes, Ethan knew it was time to ask. Ethan turned to Claire. His voice was soft, but certain. "Claire, I wanted to ask you something. It might sound a bit forward." Claire looked up, offering a polite smile. "Sure, go ahead." "Do you tutor?" Ethan asked, eyes still watching Lily. Claire blinked, surprised. "You mean—" "Lily, she needs someone like you, not just to teach her, but to reach her. You've done something I, and a whole team of therapists, haven't been able to do." Claire hesitated. Her heart skipped slightly, not from flattery, but from fear. "I'm not sure if I'm the right person for that," she said carefully. "I'm not a certified tutor. I'm just someone who used to teach. Nothing special." "You have something no degree can give," Ethan replied. "Lily trusts you. That's all that matters to me." Claire glanced over at Lily, who was shading in purple butterfly wings, her face peaceful and calm. Claire couldn't remember the last time she felt this needed. "Would it be only Sundays?" she asked. "No, if you have a few afternoons free each week, I can make it work. I'll pay you fairly, more than fairly." Claire smiled faintly, still unsure. She remembered lying awake in her small apartment, wondering if she'd ever be in a classroom again. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "I'm not sure about much," Ethan said quietly. "But about this, yes, I'm sure." Claire sat still for a moment, then gave a soft nod. "All right, I'll try, as long as Lily wants it too." Right on cue, Lily looked up, her eyes lighting up. "I want it," she squealed. "Miss Claire can teach me how to draw, tell stories, and do leaf-shaped magic." Ethan laughed. "Sounds like she's already written your curriculum." Claire laughed too, but deep down her heart stirred with something real. For the first time in a long while, she felt like herself again. A teacher, a guide, and now a gentle companion to a healing soul. Ever since Claire agreed to tutor, the air inside Ethan's home had begun to shift, like a soft breeze finding its way into rooms long closed off. What began as 2 tutoring sessions a week quickly turned into something more. Lily started counting down the hours until Miss Claire arrived. Math became a game. Reading became storytelling with voices and characters. Some afternoons, the 3 of them sat out on the porch, turning fallen leaves into characters for a fantasy world Lily imagined. "This is Daddy Leaf," Lily said, holding up a large maple leaf toward Ethan. "This is Princess Leaf. That's me." She handed herself a bright green one. Then she turned to Claire. "And you're the magic teacher with butterfly wings." Ethan chuckled, and Claire blushed a little, though her joy was undeniable. She hadn't imagined teaching could return to her life in such a simple, honest way. One Friday evening after a lesson, Ethan suggested they all go out for dinner. Claire was about to decline, but Lily's hopeful eyes made it impossible to say no. Ethan took them to a small garden restaurant strung with golden lights and soft music playing in the background. Lily chattered about everything she'd learned, while Claire shared a few stories from her former classroom. After Lily dozed off at the table, worn out from excitement, Ethan and Claire remained, surrounded by warm light and quiet hums of the evening. "Thank you for everything you've done for her," Ethan said, his voice low and sincere. "I didn't think I'd ever see that smile again." Claire smiled softly. "She has a beautiful heart. I just happened to be here at the right time." Ethan looked at her. After a pause, he asked, "Why Austin?" Claire hesitated. It wasn't exactly a choice. My school back in Georgia shut down, budget cuts. I lost my job. A friend said I should try a new start here. I guess I just needed to breathe again. Starting over's not easy, Ethan murmured. No, Claire agreed, especially when everything familiar suddenly disappears. They sat quietly for a moment, not speaking, but it wasn't an uncomfortable silence. It was the kind of silence between people who'd both known loss and understood what presence truly meant. Later, as Ethan drove her home, Lily still asleep in the back seat, Claire lingered at the door before getting out. I don't want Lily to get her hopes up, she said gently. I'll be here for her as long as she needs me. But you're scared, Ethan finished. Claire nodded. Scared I'll disappoint her, and maybe myself. Ethan didn't reply immediately, but just as she stepped out, he said softly, I think we all carry fear, but from where I'm standing, Lily trusts you more than anyone. Claire looked at him, something tender flickering in her eyes. Then, she said, I'll do my best to be worthy of that trust. The car door clicked shut quietly. But inside both of them, another door was quietly beginning to open. The weeks that followed felt like a gentle dream. Claire came regularly to tutor Lily. The three of them cooked, laughed, played, and sometimes just sat in silence, no longer feeling alone in it. Ethan began to think more about the future. Claire started to believe more in the present. But just as happiness began to take root, the past came knocking, with a familiar voice, a knowing gaze, and fears that had never truly gone away. And on one seemingly ordinary Monday afternoon, everything began to shift. Claire hadn't been expecting it. It was an ordinary Monday afternoon when she arrived at Ethan's house, same as always. Lily was already waiting at the door in her favorite butterfly sweater, holding a new notebook. Miss Claire, can we do 3D butterfly wings today? Lily chirped. Claire laughed. You're way ahead of me. I told Grandma all about you, Lily added before running inside. Claire paused. Grandma? And then, in the living room, she saw her, Margaret Carter, Ethan's mother-in-law. Elegant, silver-haired, wrapped in a cashmere shawl, her gaze sharp and assessing. Hello, Margaret said coolly as Claire stepped in. Her tone was polite, but the chill underneath was unmistakable. Claire smiled faintly, but something in her chest tightened, the kind of tightening you feel when someone looks at you and doesn't really see you. Good afternoon, Claire replied. I'm Claire Bennett. Yes, Margaret said. I've heard quite a bit about you. Lily skipped into another room, unaware of the shift in tension. Claire tried to steady herself under Margaret's unwavering stare. No Ethan in sight. Just two women, one, the mother of a beloved wife now gone, and the other, something undefined yet clearly present in the life of her granddaughter. Ethan arrived a few minutes later, phone in hand, his face tight. I didn't know you were coming, Mom, he said, then turned to Claire. You can start the session with Lily. I'll join in a bit. Claire nodded, attempting a smile. But as she turned to go upstairs, Margaret spoke. Claire, may I speak with you? Privately? Claire hesitated, then walked back to the table. Ethan seemed uncertain, but Claire gave a small nod. Of course. Margaret's eyes never wavered. I'll be direct. I don't believe your place in this household is appropriate. Claire said nothing. Margaret continued. I'm sure you're a kind person, but Ethan is vulnerable. He's grieving. So is Lily. You came in, gentle, available, and it's easy to misinterpret. Claire swallowed hard, but kept her voice calm. I'm not trying to be anything, ma'am. Lily trusts me, and I just want to help. Exactly, Margaret said. You're helping, but you won't always be here. You're not Lily's mother. You can't replace my daughter. Claire's heart tightened. Not from anger, from sorrow. "You may not realize it," Margaret added, "but the two of you, you and Ethan, are stepping into something without a future. You're a tutor, a cafe worker. Ethan, he has a company, responsibilities, a world entirely apart." Those words struck deeper than any insult could. Ethan walked in just then, sensing the tension. "What's going on?" "Nothing," Margaret said smoothly. "Just a brief conversation." Ethan glanced between them, hesitating, lips parting like he might speak, but stopping short. Claire saw it. That flicker, that silence. And in that silence, she felt more alone than she had in months. She stood, offering a polite but faint smile. "I think Lily should skip tutoring today." She left without looking back, though her heart screamed for someone to stop her. She left without looking back. That evening, Ethan called. Claire didn't answer. A single text followed. "I'm sorry. I didn't expect this to happen." She didn't reply. She sat alone in her apartment, staring at the drawing Lily had given her, a magic teacher with butterfly wings. Claire had waited for a word, just one, from Ethan after Margaret left Austin. A phone call saying he disagreed with his mother-in-law, a message that said she didn't have to go. Just one sentence. "I'll stand by you." But silence stretched longer than she expected. The text, "I'm sorry," was all Ethan could offer. And for Claire, that wasn't enough. She knew Ethan wasn't a bad man. He was just caught, between the past and the present, between the memory of a daughter his mother lost and the woman he might build something new with. Claire packed her things on a quiet Wednesday morning just days later. She didn't say goodbye to Lily, not because she didn't care, but because she knew if she hugged that little girl one more time, she might not find the strength to walk away. Denver wasn't some grand decision, just a place she had once visited. A friend there had a spare couch and a soft voice that said, "Come if you need to." Claire didn't know what the future would hold, but she knew this: staying, when the person you need won't speak up, sometimes hurts more than leaving. Since the night Claire walked out with eyes full of hurt yet quiet dignity, the warmth in Ethan and Lily's home faded. The laughter stopped. The evenings of watercolor and stories became just silence. And then the thing he feared most happened. Lily began to withdraw. No more drawings, no more school excitement. She stopped mentioning Miss Claire, at least aloud. Until one Tuesday morning, the school called. "Mr. Walker," the teacher's voice trembled. "We need you to come in. Lily had an emotional meltdown during art class. She cried and said, 'I ruined my painting, and Miss Claire isn't here to fix it.'" Ethan froze. He had never seen Lily break like that. And in that moment, he knew he had hurt his daughter by letting go of the one person who made her feel safe. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He sat in his office staring at a drawing Claire had once made with Lily, an orange butterfly flying under a soft blue sky. Claire had taught Lily that stains didn't ruin a picture. Sometimes they made it magical. But Ethan, adult, father, tech entrepreneur, had let a judgmental glare from his late wife's mother silence him. He didn't stand up for Claire. And now her absence was teaching him the cost of silence. Ethan began to change. He poured himself into work, but this time not for his startup. He began building a new project, an online platform for children to cope with emotional trauma through art, storytelling, and empathy. The idea wasn't his. It came from watching Claire teach Lily with patience, compassion, and limitless imagination. He called it Butterfly Project. 3 weeks into development, Ethan did something he hadn't dared since Claire left. He called her. His heart raced as the phone rang. She answered on the 4th ring. "Claire, it's Ethan." There was silence, then her calm, distant voice. "I know. Hi." Ethan swallowed. "I'm not calling to apologize. I know sorry isn't enough. I need to say that you were right. You deserved someone who stood beside you, who didn't stay silent. Claire didn't speak. I know I let you down, he continued. But if you ever want to, I'd love to show you something. A project, inspired by everything you did for Lily. You made it possible. Claire breathed in. Ethan, I appreciate that, but I'm not sure I'm ready. Denver's helping me heal. I need more time. Ethan nodded, knowing she couldn't see him. I understand. I won't pressure you. Just know I'm here. And if the day ever comes, I'll be on the other side of that door. Claire's voice softened. Thank you. I miss Lily. A lot. Ethan smiled faintly. She still draws butterflies every day, and she always leaves a spot open. For you? After the call, Ethan knew. He hadn't fixed everything, but he had started. And sometimes, as Claire once said, the most beautiful things begin from the messiest stains. That call ended without promises. But Ethan knew, sometimes just one crack in the door is enough to let the light in. And this time, he wouldn't let the light slip away. 2 weeks later, Ethan stood outside Claire's small Denver apartment. Not in a tailored suit, but a worn denim jacket, hair slightly messy from the early flight, carrying a leather folder and a small ring box hidden in his pocket. When Claire opened the door, she paused. You really came? Ethan nodded. I think it's time to stop waiting and start doing what's right. They walked to a small cafe down the street, Claire's weekend spot. Ethan remembered she liked peppermint tea and ordered it for her without asking. After a few casual words, Ethan placed a neatly bound proposal on the table. This is called Butterfly Pathways. It's more than a project. It's a safe, creative space where kids can learn, express, and heal. Through storytelling, music, drawing. Claire opened the proposal, flipping through slowly. Her eyes paused on words like safe space, trust, creativity, emotional resilience. She could feel it, not just paper and ink, but her essence reflected back, her past, her pain, and her healing. Claire, Ethan began gently. He pulled out the ring box. I don't just want you to co-found this project. I want you to be part of my family, completely. Claire froze, eyes misty. Ethan opened the box, a delicate silver ring with 3 engraved butterflies. No gold, no diamonds, he said. Just silver, strong, simple, enduring, like you, and like what I want with you. Claire looked at him, visibly trembling. I'm not doing this to fix things. I'm doing it because I now know. I don't want to live another day without you. Not for Lily, not for work, for you. He paused. But if I'm honest, I think Lily believed in this before I did. She finally spoke. Do you know, when I left, I wasn't angry. I was scared of being a replacement, a shadow. Ethan reached for her hand. I know, and I'll never let that happen again. I have conditions, Claire said with a quiet smile. Name them. We build this together, with fairness. I don't want to be Lily's savior. I want to be part of a shared healing, together. No one above, no one behind. Ethan nodded. I promise. Time, space, bricks from the ground up. I'm with you. Claire touched the ring. I haven't said yes, she whispered, but I'm not saying no. They didn't hug, they didn't kiss, but they knew. This wasn't a restart. It was a true beginning, built on truth, equity, and quiet courage. And from that day on, they began writing a new chapter. Not pieces patched together, but pieces they chose, slowly, lovingly, to build something whole. The wedding took place 6 months later in a small wooden cabin nestled in a Colorado pine forest, where the sunlight fell through the trees like golden lace. No grand party, no elaborate gowns, just rows of wooden benches, soft string lights, and acoustic guitar played by one of Ethan's friends from the Butterfly Pathways team. Lily, in a white dress with a silk ribbon in her hair, walked Claire down the aisle. Her eyes sparkled, not just from excitement, but from the quiet joy of finally having a family again. Claire held Lily's hand tightly. As they walked, her eyes scanned the front row, where Margaret sat, still and composed. Her gaze no longer cold, but softer, a little worn, a little open. When Claire reached her, Margaret stood. She didn't say much, just held out a small velvet box. "They were Emily's," she said quietly. "My daughter wore these earrings on her wedding day. Today, I believe, they should be yours." Claire's breath caught. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened the box. Inside lay a pair of pearl earrings. Classic, understated, beautiful. She looked at Margaret, voice soft and cracking. "Thank you for trusting me." Margaret nodded. "You're not replacing Emily, but you love Lily, with a kind of love that asks for nothing back." The ceremony was calm and simple. No dramatic vows, no perfect lines, just two people looking into each other's eyes, shaped by loss, silence, and growth. When Ethan whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me," Claire smiled through tears. "Because you chose to come forward," she said, "and because that little girl believed in me from the very first day." She looked down at Lily, who stood beaming, holding her father's hand. As the three of them walked out of the aisle together, hand in hand, the sunlight gently draped over their shoulders like a golden shawl. A family that didn't start in perfection, but in trust that even if the past had fallen apart, the present could still begin again, in the most beautiful way. After the wedding, there was no exotic honeymoon. Just a quiet week in the same forest cabin, the place where Claire once began to heal. Beside the fireplace, they started building something simple: waffle breakfasts, pine-cone walks with Lily, and quiet talks about dreams yet to come. One peaceful morning, Claire found out she was pregnant. She stood in the bathroom, holding the test in trembling hands. Her heart beat fast, not with fear, but something even deeper: awe. She had never thought she'd get the chance to become a mother from the beginning. Ethan was the first to know. He was brewing coffee when she walked in, placed the test stick on the counter, her eyes teary but quietly hopeful. Ethan stared, silent for a few seconds, then pulled her into a tight embrace. No words, just a long breath, like they had both stepped into a dream neither dared to believe before. Lily was next. She squealed with joy, ran around the living room, then threw her arms around Claire and whispered, "I always wished for a baby that looks a little like me." Claire laughed, tears falling down her cheeks before she could wipe them away. 9 months later, Lucas Gabriel Walker was born on a bright spring morning. A healthy baby boy, gray-blue eyes like Ethan's, but with Claire's nose and long fingers. Lily held her baby brother for the first time and whispered, "Welcome to the world, little butterfly." At the same time, their center, Butterfly Pathways, had become fully operational. Nestled on the edge of Denver, it was a place where Claire used her personal journey to guide children through emotional recovery, helping them find their voice, their laughter, and their trust in grown-ups again. Ethan, with his tech background, developed apps for emotional therapy, connecting single-parent families across the country. Lily, now 12, spent weekends helping Claire set up paints, rearrange therapy rooms. Whenever a new child arrived, she was always the first to reach out and say, "Here, we heal with colors, music, and a little bit of magic." One quiet Saturday afternoon, Claire sat by the center's window, Lucas asleep on her chest, Lily coloring paper butterflies beside her. She looked at her children, one once lost, one just arrived, and at Ethan adjusting the therapy lights across the room. In the soft glow of sunset, she thought, "I didn't choose the easy road, but I chose love, and that love saved us all." One late autumn afternoon, warm sunlight poured gently through the windows of butterfly pathways. Outside, leaves rustled softly in the breeze, carrying with them the scent of wood, paint, and children's laughter. Near the entrance, on a simple white wooden wall, hangs a small sign engraved with the words, "The greatest miracles begin with the smallest acts of kindness." No one remembers who said it first, but everyone agrees. Maybe it started the day Claire turned orange juice into butterfly wings. No one quite remembers who wrote it first, but everyone who walks into this place agrees. It's not just a quote. It's the soul of this center. Claire sat at her desk, golden light falling on an old leather-bound notebook. Through the open window, laughter echoed from the therapy room. She smiled. The healing had begun here, in this place, with these people. On the open page, a handwritten title read, "Butterfly Letters, A Journey of Love and Healing." The book didn't begin with a whirlwind romance, not a fairy tale of princes and glass slippers. It began with a cup of cocoa, a tutoring session, and a little girl who had lost her mother. Claire wrote about it all, the loneliness of her early days in Austin, the silence that cut deeper than any word, and the eyes of a child who had forgotten how to believe someone might stay. She wrote about Ethan, not as a hero, but a man who had once failed and then chose to grow. And she wrote about Lily, the little girl who taught her that sometimes love doesn't begin with words, but with trust in a single glance. When the manuscript was finished, Claire sent it to a small independent publisher in Colorado. She didn't hope for fame. She just wanted someone, somewhere, to find it on a hard day. And remember, you don't have to be perfect to love, you just have to be honest. The book had a limited print, but to her surprise, within months, Butterfly Letters was being passed around single-parent groups, therapy centers, even read aloud in classrooms from Seattle to Boston. A mother wrote to say that after reading it, she found the courage to hug her son for the first time after her divorce. A child wrote that they painted a butterfly like lilies, and somehow the sadness got a little smaller. Claire read every letter. Some days she couldn't hold back tears. Lucas slept in her arms while Ethan brewed tea quietly in the kitchen. On the second anniversary of the center, they held a small art show. The walls were filled with butterfly paintings, broken-winged, rainbow-colored, made from scraps, painted with sticky little fingers. At the heart of the gallery hung one special painting, made by Claire and Lily, a giant pair of watercolor wings, beneath which they wrote, "Where there is love, there is always a way home." Ethan stood beside Claire, holding her hand. Lucas slept peacefully in Lily's arms. No words were needed. They knew they had walked through loss. They had chosen love, and they had become someone else's small miracle.